Okay, good morning. So let us go through the problems in the quiz. I think it is very important to take lessons from your mistakes. Okay, so the first question, as you see, we want to find the exact value of this expression and type it here. And as you hopefully remember that these angles are all famous angles, sorry, and then you can find the values in the formula sheet at the very end page and then put them here and do the calculation. So it shouldn't take that long, but when I was checking you, many of you, spend more time than necessary on this question. So you have to be very fast as well, okay? So the first thing that you do, what you do, you just go to the formula sheet and then write equality. Square root of 2 is just a square root of 2. This number is directly given into the table, so it becomes 1 over square root of 2. I don't have the formula sheet available now, but you can trust me on that. If you go and read sine of 45 degrees, this is the number. Minus cosine of 180 degrees is also given there, so it is minus 1. And then sine of 60 degrees squared, so you just need to read what sine of 60 degrees is. If you go to the table, you will find this number. But the only twist to the problem is that you have a square. You have to raise it to power 2. Well, that's it. And then what happens? Square root of 2 and a square root of 2 are cancelled. I am left with 1. Minus 1 is 1. Plus 4 multiplied. I have to square this. The numerator squared is 3. The denominator squared is 4. And then what happens again? This 4 and that 4 are gone. So the answer is just simply 1 plus 1. And 3 is left. And this is just 5. So the answer that you have to type here is just simply 5. And that is the solution to the problem. Okay? Now we go to the next question. This angle in radians is equal to in degrees. So you have to change radians to degrees. This is probably one of the most standard problems here. And then probably you know the rule. Yes, I told you the rule of thumb. So pi radians is equivalent to 180 degrees. So if you have forgotten that, of course, there is no way to do it, yes? So what we have to do, the question mark is this. So 5 pi over 12 radians is equal to 5 times 180 degrees over 12. Yes, that's it. But then you have to do some simplifications. If you can do this immediately in your head, do it. Otherwise, you have to simplify it gradually because the calculator is not allowed. So what should I do, for example? If this is, so I divide this by 6, hopefully everything is clear, it becomes 2. I also simplify this by 6, it becomes 30. Yes? And then I simplify by 2, 15 degrees. And then 5 times 15 degrees is what? 75 degrees. Yes? And then if you go here, I have mentioned degrees. So the only thing that you have to type here is just 75. So you don't need to ask me about the symbol of degrees or anything because I have mentioned degrees there in words. That's the solution. Yes? Okay, let us go to the next problem. Ule solves this equation in front of his classmates on the blackboard as is shown in the image below. So that is the solution of Ule. Yes, we're solving this equation cosine 2x equals to 0.5. His classmate Eva objects the solution and mentions that there are 2 flaws in Ule's solution. Explain what the flaws are. You don't need equation editor, even though I have written equation editor, but you just need to write it in words. So there are 2 mistakes, yes? You just need to remember that if you have cosine 2x equals to 0.5, 2x is plus or minus cosine inverse of 0.5. So one mistake is that Ule has just calculated the positive value. So one mistake, you need to write just in English One mistake is that Ulle should have written plus or minus 60 degrees, but he has only written 60 degrees. And the next thing, because I want to find x, you know that I have to divide everything by 2, but everything by 2. So Ulle has divided 2x by x, 60 degrees by, sorry, 2x by 2, 60 degrees by 2, but he also have to divide this by 2, but he has forgotten that. That's it. So you say that one flaw is not considering the minus angle. The second flaw is that he has forgotten to divide by 360 degrees by 2. That's it, just in 2 sentences. Okay? Any questions? So that was also simple, wasn't it? Okay, so these are E-level questions, all of them. Now we go to a C-level question. Consider the equation the sum of the solutions of this equation in this interval is equal to what, and I have also already put the degree sign myself there, so you just need to put the number here. Okay, so this is one of those questions that if you don't remember, I consider it C-level question, not A-level question, because when I was teaching you, I told you this type of equations. If you forget about what I told you, more or less there is no way for you to solve or discover it during the exam. Okay? So this is one of those problems that I told you how to do it. If this is 0 and sine and cosine, the idea is to divide by cosine. So if this idea does come to your mind, it is very simple. If it does not come, it means that if you don't remember it, then there is no way for you to do it. Yes? I will pause a little bit. The reason I'm telling is because if you don't remember what I said, more or less what time you put on this problem is just a waste of your time. Because it will increase your stress because you cannot solve it. And then it will affect the other questions. And then if you don't remember it, it will not be easy to solve the problem. Okay, so let us solve the problem. How should I solve the problem? I move this to the other side. And then I divide everything by cosine 3x. So I'm lazy to write it again, but I divide everything by cosine 3x. I also divide this by cosine 3x. Okay? The left-hand side sine over cosine of the same angle becomes tangent. So this becomes what? Square root of 3 tangent of 3x. And this one just becomes simply 1. Okay. So this is the crucial part, and this is mainly memory, not that much understanding. So that's why it's important to remember things. But the next step is based on your knowledge, hopefully. So what should I do now? Yes, because I want to make it a standard. So I have to get rid of a square root of 3. So I divide everything by a square root of 3. And then, again, you have to remember, because I warned you, formulas for trigonometric equations are not in the formula sheet. So either you have to derive them every time, or you have to have them in your memory, at least before the exam day. If you write in an organized way, referring to your writings is not hard. Okay? So, this is playing the role of box, and hopefully you remember this number is famous. If you don't remember this number is famous, there is no point for you to look it up in the table. Okay? So what happens? The box, which is 3x, is equal to tangent inverse of that number. But for tangent, you need to remember something else, and that is not 360. You should write 180. So you see how many parts of it is important if you have it in your memory. And this is something that most of you don't appreciate. And that is why math problems become hard. Because you want to discover everything. It's impossible. Okay? And then this one, if you remember it is famous, you just go to the formula sheet and read the angle. It's not hard. So I have it in my memory, it is 30 degrees. Yes? So it becomes 30 degrees. So this means that 3x is equal to 30 degrees plus n times 180 degrees. And then I'm looking for x. And don't make Ule's mistake. So when you divide, what you should do, you have to divide everything by 3, including that number. Of course, if you just write up to here, you will get some points. It's not useless, but if you write something which is not relevant, then if I don't see the logic, then of course I will not give. For example, I think you did it somehow correct, but not in this way. So this will deserve points, yes? But usually, if you don't remember things, then you might be able to do it very complicated way, and then you lose time, and then the stress level goes up. So it is important when I ask you to become ready for the exam. It means that some part of it is related to your memory. Okay, but it is not finished yet. So what was the problem asking? The problem is asking about the sum of the solutions in this interval. So what I have to do, I have to find the solutions within that interval. Okay, there is no point to give negative values because negative values makes the angle negative, which is beyond that interval. And then I have to start with 0. Okay, there is no time, space here, but let us do it now. If I put 0, what do I get? 10 degrees. It is here. That's correct. Then if I put 1, it becomes 70. Is it acceptable? Still yes. If I put 2, 130. Acceptable? Yes. But 3, no. So these are the solutions. But the question is asking you about the sum of these values. 70, 130, 200, 210. So the sum is what? Let me write like that. The sum is 210 degrees. So I have already put the degree sign for you there, so you don't need to type it. So what you just type is 210. Yes? Is that okay? Understandable? But I want you to emphasize again the role of memory here. Okay? So you have to change this habit because sometimes you sit down and work the problem, but you don't put any effort on sending it to your memory. Okay? So it is not possible. Okay, so the next question. The next question is telling you, let me read it from the text. Let alpha be an angle in the second quadrant such that sine alpha is 1/3, and beta be an angle in the fourth quadrant such that cosine beta is 2/3. If the exact value of sine alpha plus beta is equal to this expression, then you are supposed to find A. Okay, logically speaking, it is a simple problem. But the statistics shows that many of you had problems with this one, even though you solved the A-level question, the first A-level question. Okay, so the reason I didn't think that this is a hard problem, because I think there is no twist in the problem. You are supposed to find A. Okay, the problem tells you that sine alpha plus beta is this one, and you want A. Okay, so there is no hope for me to do something here, because A is unknown, and I want to find it. Okay, so I have to give this part up. There is nothing I can do here. But is there something I can do here? Yes, because I know something about sine alpha, I know something about cosine alpha, and this problem is sine alpha plus beta. So sine alpha plus beta has a formula. This is the addition formula for sine. So you have to remember this fact. This is related to addition formula. Yes? Okay. Do now. I have to use the formula there. So what happens? It becomes sine alpha. I have it in my memory, but you know where to look for. You need to look for addition formula for sine. So it becomes sine alpha cosine beta plus what? Sine beta cosine alpha. So I have this one in my memory. You don't have to. You just read it from the formula sheet. Okay. So this is my question mark. So I want to calculate sine alpha plus beta. Why this is useful? Because if I know what is sine alpha plus beta, a number, I put that number here and I find A. Okay, so that is the reason I'm interested in. So I need to know 4 numbers because my goal is to find this, yes? 2 of them are directly given to me. So sine alpha is given, yes? Cosine beta is also given. So I have two duties, yeah, I mean, I have to find sine beta, I have to find cosine alpha, and when I was teaching you, I put a star on those examples, that these examples are important, okay? So, and I told you not because they are hard, because they are important in other parts. So I need to find sine beta. So I have 2 problems to solve, sine beta and cosine alpha. In order to find sine beta, which information is useful? Of course, this information will be useful. It is not related to beta. This one is related to beta. So there is only one single formula that probably, of course it is in the formula sheet, but what that formula is, sine beta squared plus cosine beta squared is equal to 1. This is the most famous formula. And then cosine beta is given. So here I continue. Sine beta is not known yet. Cosine beta is that number. So when you raise it to power 2 becomes 4 over 9. This number to power 2 is equal to 1. I am looking for sine. So I move this to the other side. Sine beta squared is equal to 1 minus 4 over 9. Take the common denominator, 5 over 9. And then sine beta becomes what? Plus or minus square root of 5 over 3. But this information is given because of that. Yes? Beta is in the 4th quadrant. In the 4th quadrant, sine is positive or negative? Negative. So what do you accept here? Beta in the 4th. Yes? So sine beta is the negative value. And then, by the way, if you write this and leave it, you will still get some points. Okay? But as soon as you did this one, I think the next one is easy. So far, I have this, now I have this. There's only one thing left, and that is cosine alpha. So I have to find cosine alpha. But cosine alpha is probably related to sine alpha with the same formula. So it becomes sine alpha squared plus cosine alpha squared is equal to 1. But this time I know sine alpha is 1/3, and then I square it. So it becomes what? 1 over 9 plus cosine alpha squared, and this one becomes 1, exactly as before. So I move this to the other side. Cosine alpha squared is 1 minus 1 over 9, and then it becomes what? 8 over 9. And I am looking for cosine. I take the square root. It becomes plus or minus the square root of 8 over 3. But again, which one is acceptable? Because alpha is in the 2nd quadrant. Alpha is in the 2nd quadrant. Cosine in 2nd quadrant is negative. So alpha in the 2nd. So this means that cosine alpha is minus the square root of 8 over 3. Even if you cannot solve the problem completely, but you get a lot of points of doing. I mean, if there are 2 points, might be you get 1 point, or even sometimes even 1.5, because this needs a little bit of calculation. Might be if you have done these 2, you still get 1 point. If you just do this one, you will get 0.5. Okay? So this is important for the exam, because sometimes you say that, okay, I couldn't solve the problem completely, so it is worthless. No, it is not. You are accumulating the points, yes? Okay, so now the last part is what? I have this number from the beginning. These 2 numbers I didn't have. I calculated myself, so everything is in order, so I can immediately calculate this. So what happens? So sine alpha plus beta is what? Let us do it. Sine alpha is 1/3 multiplied cosine beta is 2/3, and then plus sine beta is minus the square root of 5 over 3 multiplied cosine alpha is minus the square root of 8 over Yes? Okay, then what we can do? I multiply them. So this becomes 2 over 9. Minus times minus plus. Square root of 8, square root of 5 is what? Square root of 40. 3 times 3 is 9. Yes? And then what you have to do, you just need to compare this one with that one. Okay, so that I know that you are not very comfortable in calculating these numbers, but you have to. Okay, these are not hard things. So you see, I have a factor of 2 over 9 out here. I have my factor of 2 over 9, but unfortunately there is no 2 here. So it shouldn't be hard for you to understand that the square root of 4t is the square root of what? 4 times 10. And then this becomes 2 square root of 10. Okay, so this is 2 square root of 10 over 9. This is 2 over 9. Can I factor 2 over 9 out?
Yes.
Yes. So I factor 2 over 9 out. From this 2 over 9, what is left? 1. 2 over 9 is pulled out. The square root of 10 is left. Yes? And then compare this one. This is sine alpha plus beta based on my calculation. Based on the problem, sine alpha plus beta is supposed to be this. A simple comparison shows that A should be what? 10. So A is 10. So let us say 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. And then it becomes 2 points. Yes? So, but when I was correcting, majority of you lost completely the logic. This is the place that you need to think why I couldn't solve this problem. Fix something in your head. I can just draw your attention to it. I cannot fix something in your brain. Okay, so now let us go to the next problem. Okay, so the next problem, some of you did it, but my intention was not the way that you did it. When I read your solution, for example, Kuzey and I think Sarah and some more, that was correct. But it was much simpler when I was designing. I had something else in mind. So I will present my solution, okay? But when I read your solution, it was also correct, so I gave you the points, of course. So let me just do it here on the board. So we want to do what? We have an expression here for all values of x that this expression is defined. I told you that in principle, if I want to design a question in a very good way, I have to be very precise. But you know this is meaningless for the calculation, yes? Because it means that whenever it is defined, what it is. Okay, so the expression is equal to one of these options. Okay, something that I take lesson from the options is this. I see that I have two fractions, but options are only one term. So it motivates me what to do. It motivates me to combine them, make it one. That is the only thing I care when I see the options, because I cannot foresee more than that. I just see that I need to make these two fractions into one single term. Okay, so we go to the board. So what should we do? Whenever we don't know what to do, I mean, this is Kuzey's quote, yes? Sacrifice tangent, and I think it's good. So this year I learned this from you, I will use with my phrase, yes? Okay, so whenever I told you, whenever we don't know what to do, sacrifice tangent, yes? It should be something remembering. Okay, so what should I do? Even if you want to be on the safe side, do every step. Of course, some part of it can be done in your head. Do you have any problems writing it? No. Then, the problem is that sometimes when you feel the question is at A level, you are disturbed a little bit. You should work on this psychology problem, you know? It's just a problem, okay? Okay, but this, I hope that everyone can do this in a matter of 1 second. So what should I write instead of this? Everyone, do you see that? What should I write for this? Yeah, flipping should be in a matter of milliseconds for you. If you have problems with flipping the fraction because 1 over A over B is B over A, then of course you will be in trouble. Yes? So when I see this, I don't feel any pain. Yes? I just write this. At least the pain will come later, not at this stage. Yes? But then, of course, if you already feel pain here, then you are in trouble. Yes? Okay. Many people, I don't know, I didn't have this intention as I told you. My intention was to look at the options, see that the options are only one term, I have two fractions, so something comes to my mind is to take the common denominator. And that is exactly according to the teaching when I was talking to you. So what is the common denominator here? I have to make the denominators the same. I myself prefer to do it fast. If you don't like it, you can do it in 2 steps as a Ma4 you learn, okay? So I have to rescale this, I have to rescale this. I think in Swedish it's called förlänga or something like that, making it longer, yes? It's so that the denominators are the same. So how should I rescale this? I will rescale this first one with sine 2x factor, yes? So this one also becomes multiplied by sine 2x. Is that understandable? Yes? Okay, because this one and that one are gone, I go back. But what is the benefit of that? If I do the same for the other one, then I will have two fractions with the common denominator. So how should I rescale this one now? I have to multiply by sine x. And then I have to multiply this by sine x as well. Do you see that or not? Yes? Okay, but now the denominators are the same. So I write the denominator. So what happens? It becomes sine x, sine 2x. And in the numerator, if you don't mind, let me write them in order. Of course, at this stage, you might not understand what the order is, but you will, okay? So I write sine 2x first, cosine x second, minus sine x first, cosine 2x second. Okay. By the way, up to here, the question has 1.5 points. You will still get a good point. I mean, I don't know, might be 0.5 because the twist of the problem is left, yes. Okay, so this is the normal part. Everyone should be able to come to here unless you have a different idea. But this is not hard. Coming from here to here should be reasonable. Might be you will not be able to see what the point is, then you don't know how to continue, you will stop here, but at least you get some points. But now, if you remember, when I'm teaching you, I always say that, okay, sine of the first one, cosine of the second one, minus the other way around. Okay, so that's it. Sine of an angle times cosine of another angle minus the other way around. So that is the expanded version of the difference formula for sine. If it looks familiar, then you will go to the formula sheet and see which one is which. But if you are completely lost, what is the point in checking the formula sheet? Because you don't know what you're looking for. Yes? So can I write this one? So if you go to the formula sheet, this is the formula which is suitable. You will see it in the formula sheet, sine of u cosine of v minus sine of v cosine of u. Do you see that this combination is the same combination by giving the role of 2x to u, giving the role of x to v? That's the same combination. So what is the answer? The answer is sine of the difference of the angles. So this becomes sine. What should I write, everyone? What should I write here? Yeah, help me, please. What should I write here? 2x minus x. Divided, I copy and paste. But is there something else I can write for sine 2x minus x? It is just sine x, because 2x minus x is x. So it becomes sine x over sine x, sine 2x. And then this sine x and that sine x are gone. So what is left? Is 1 over sine 2x. That was my intention when I was designing it. You don't have to write so much, but in the exam, don't take the risk. Write every detail so that you don't lose any points. But anyway, I hope that you understand. Some of you use the formulas for cosine 2x and sine 2x. It becomes a little bit more complicated, but you manage to do that, so you will deserve the points. Any questions here? Again, you need to ask yourself, what part of it was hard that you couldn't do? This is important, by the way. If you don't do that right now, You will not change anything. Okay, so let us go to the next problem now. The last one is probably the hardest one. Okay? And by the way, even if you lose this 1.5, you haven't still lost the chance of getting an A. So let us say that, okay, yeah, in the exam I see, oh, this is not my type of problem, forget about it. But still, you are still on the A side. You can still lose 0.5, still get an A. Not just suddenly go to F or E or D. So you are sacrificing. It is a very bad idea if some of you starts with hard questions. If you have that habit, forget about it. You have to start with simple questions and do them fast. Okay? And then follow the rest. This is the hardest question, but to be honest, it is not hard at all. I have given you the hint. Okay? Because the reason I gave you this hint was because there are 3 formulas for cosine 2 theta. I wanted to save time for you, not to do trial and error to find the suitable one. So I am hinting you that, okay, from those 3 formulas in the formula sheet, this one is more suitable for this problem, so that I can save time for you. But the rest of it is extremely simple, and I have mentioned it, by the way. Use it in the first equation. Again, I am saving time for you, because you might say, okay, should I use that formula here, or should I use that formula here? It takes time, try and error. Yes? I am saving a lot of time for you. Okay, listen to me and do it. Okay, so let us write it on the board. Okay, let me explain once more quickly. So this was given, and that was also given. And then I have given you the hint to use this formula for here. Okay, so I just replace it with this one. And then I immediately realize sine theta is repeating itself here. So that is the idea of the auxiliary variable. By the way, you don't have to introduce it. If you are comfortable with working this form, just continue. But usually auxiliary variable is good, because what happens, the form of the equation becomes simpler. Okay, so when I replace this with that capital X, I have this equation. I don't like fractions, so I multiply everything by 8. And this is a very standard problem, a quadratic equation in X. I myself, as I told you, prefer to make it positive. It doesn't matter, you can move -7 to the left, but I prefer to move everything to the right so that this becomes positive. And then this becomes a quadratic equation, and I use ABC formula to solve it. So I put these numbers here. Then this becomes a little bit problematic. This is a little bit big number, even though it is not that big, because 4 times 15 is 60. 60 times 16 is 960. And this one becomes what? Yes, 1024, and square root of 1024 shouldn't be that hard for you. But anyway, I told you that you can play a trick. 4 times 16 is 64. Between these two, you can factor a 64 out. Then I am fortunate, because 1 is left from here, 15 from there. It becomes 16. So 64 times 16, I want to take a square root. Square root of 64 is 8. Square root of this one is 4. So 8 times 4 is 32. And then I don't want to explain more. So you just calculate 8 plus 32 over 32. You get 5 over 4. And then you subtract them and divide. You get -3/4. But x cannot be beyond 1, because x was the name I gave to sine, and you know sine is maximally 1. So this cannot happen. The only option is that x, which is sine theta, is -3/4. Okay, I take this information, go back to the first equation again, replace this one with that number, and my unknown cosine 2 theta is already found. How? So cosine 2 theta is this number minus sine theta. And then instead of that one, instead of sine theta, I put this number, minus becomes plus, and I calculate this, the answer becomes -1/8. Now I go to the next equation, I have both of them, so I plug the numbers there. So instead of sine theta, you see, I put -3/4, and instead of cosine 2 theta, I put -1/8.
On the right-hand side, I have a over 32. So minus minus is plus. 1 times 3, 3. 8 times 4, 32. And you just compare the left with the right, so it is clear that a is equal to 3. Okay, at least people can understand probably what is written here, okay? Any questions regarding the quiz? Okay, thank you.